Welcome to your 4 to 5, everybody. Aaron Chilton here with Lauren Coleman and Chad Silver.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching us on News 2, Fire Stick, Roku, and we're also on the WFMY News 2 app.
We have a lot of stuff to get to today and some pretty heavy stuff, too, so let's get right to it with your afternoon headlines. First, someone shot and killed a 12-year-old girl in Winston-Salem. Police responded to a park on Southdale Avenue yesterday afternoon. They say the girl and a 24-year-old man were both hit by bullets during a fight. The girl died. The man should be okay. It's not clear whether either of the victims were involved in this fight or if they were just innocent bystanders. Police haven't said anything about a suspect or a motive. Someone also shot a 15-year-old in Winston-Salem just before midnight last night. Police say the teenager was walking on Golson Street when someone shot them. They should recover from their injuries. Investigators also found bullet holes in a nearby house, but no one else was hurt.
The Randolph County Sheriff's Office is warning of fake Facebook posts involving missing pets or family members. We've reported on this recently, but it seems to be getting worse. The Sheriff's Office says it's seeing more of this involving fake posts. They say once you share the post can actually change it to anything that they want, like an advertisement or something political. Check the Sheriff's Office Facebook page for ways to spot fake posts. I mean, I think this is so important because time and time again, we see lots of hoax and different things out there on the web. You know, social media is powerful and people are quick to share or quick to, send it on to someone else. So you have to make sure that it's coming from that valid source.
So am I right to interpret this that if you share it, it's almost like you're sharing a shell and they can put anything
Yes,
in
they
there
can
that
go in there
want
and they
to?
could put a link to donate money to something or to,
That's
buy something
crazy.
Online, which is kind of scary.
I didn't know that was possible.
And then the Sheriff's Office said, it's really impossible to know the extent of what criminals can do with Facebook information, but they also warned that they could somehow get access to your account. So I mean, it's wild to think that something like that could happen just because you shared a post.
It kind of makes me think about a few weeks ago when we had all those hoax calls going on about the active shooters at some of the local schools here. And remember, there was that fake web article that looked like it was coming from a legitimate news site. And when people see stuff, they panic, so they're quick to share it and keep sharing it. So it's so important that you make sure that it is coming from that valid source.
And one of the best ways to do that is to, instead of clicking on that link, is to look at the name of the organization or whatever they're saying, and then go in a separate browser and open that up and see if it's real.
Hover over it or something.
It looked real.
It did. I mean, we were all confused. We were
Yep.
like, what news station is this?
And it looked like a typical news station website. So. All right, let's get to our forecast real quick. I want to talk about some changes coming up because we have to talk about rain that is on the way. Eventually, we'll get here probably by tomorrow afternoon. Temperatures right now, when you look at these, it's just fairly mild. We should be in the 40s this time of the year for high temperatures, but we'll go with 53 in Greensboro, Burlington 54, Winston-Salem at 54, and High Point. I mean, everybody's on the same page, right? Asheboro 55 degrees. Reidsville, you're down to 53, and we have to go to the higher elevations to see some 40s there. Boone and Galax at 46 and 49 respectively. Our low tonight, 42, very mild, mostly cloudy. We'll see some rain moving in by morning, and we could see that first half of the day, I would say, but then we were hoping that we'll see some gradual clearing by afternoon and evening on your Tuesday, and then we're in good shape for a while. But 53 degrees with a few showers, that's not bad. Winds will pick up, though, with the approach of that front out of the southwest, could be gusting up to about 20 miles per hour for tomorrow. Kind of a rainy, windy first half of the day. Clouds moving in. We'll go out to a wider shot here. This is the actual frontal boundary we're talking about, but ahead of that is enough instability that some of that rain comes in a little bit earlier. So if you look at a surface chart here just to see what's happening, of course the front approaches us, high pressure that was in control sinks on to the south, and there goes that rain by. So let's look at this now for tonight and heading into tomorrow. Again, the clouds, in fact, technically they're already starting to build in a little bit, but mostly cloudy overnight, and we think we see those showers by tomorrow morning. The long range outlook, our 7-day forecast, shows mild conditions, and we mean way above normal. 49 is the normal high. We're in the mid 60s rather for Wednesday, Thursday. That's 15 to 18 degrees above normal once that front clears us. But 60% chance of rain tomorrow, low 50s. Really mild Wednesday, Thursday. Another shot of rain Thursday. That front clears us. We'll cool down 50s for Friday, Saturday with another rain chance, a chilly 50-degree high with a 50-50 shot of rain on Sunday.
Today we pause to remember and celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As part of this day, many participated in a day of service.
At Chicago's Parkside Academy, volunteers gathered to paint inspirational murals on the walls of the school. In the nation's capital, Vice President Kamala Harris joined students at George Washington University to assemble academic kits for young children. Philadelphia honored Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, ringing the Liberty Bell. The city of Houston held its annual parade. In Los Angeles, Denver, and San Antonio, residents filled the streets for marches.
We have a long way to go, but we've made so much change already. Diversity, equity, inclusion, that's really the future of what we're marching for today, and that's Dr. King's legacy.
2023 marks 60 years since the March on Washington and Dr. King's speech demanding civil rights, jobs, and freedom. He helped drive the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Here at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, D.C., people have been coming all day to take photos and reflect on what the civil rights leader means to them.
Just like a sense of oneness, I guess, for me, and unity to see so many people here at the same time.
At an MLK breakfast hosted by Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network, President Biden highlighted his economic and infrastructure policies that he says are helping to make Dr. King's dream a reality.
To go forward, we need to go together. So let's be guided by Dr. King's light.
Sunday, the president visited the Atlanta church where King was pastor and became the first sitting president to speak at the service. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
Yesterday was Dr. King's birthday. He would have been 94 years old. As you remember, he was killed in 1968 at age 39.
Today, the nation remembers Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In Greensboro. People celebrated today with a parade. The Martin Luther King Jr. Parade features bands, dance teams, sports groups, and civic organizations. The annual tradition started more than 20 years ago. It began at 11 this morning. Now is also a time for service. The Volunteer Center of the Triad started its week of service at Barber Park in Greensboro yesterday. There are several projects to pick from. The organization said it picked them based on what local nonprofits told them they needed help with.
We really feel that Dr. King's influence on service is really something that's really special and unique and can really bring people together in the community.
Truist sponsored the event. A spokesperson said it's important for them to make an impact in their community. You know, I love seeing all the different organizations getting out there, all the different events that take place over King Day and over the weekend. How do you all tend to celebrate MLK Day?
You know, it's funny, I can't think of a better way to honor Dr. King than volunteering, because to me, if we could talk to him today, I think that's one of the things he would say is, giving back. And then I still have, I've told you this before, my dad had an album of his I Have a Dream speech that was first print, right?
Wow.
So back when it first came out. And I'm thinking now as that story was airing, I have not played that since my dad gave it to me. I need to play that for my kids.
I was going to say that would be a great opportunity for you to speak with your kids, because I think it's days like this that parents talk to their kids about who Dr. King was. You know, we learn about him in school, but you really don't get into it a lot until you start reading his past speeches and his past books.
You need to hear it, I think.
Yeah.
You need to hear his voice.
I think it's just crazy that it was 60 years ago this year that he gave that speech, and a lot of the things that he said in that speech just still resonate today, and that's both a good and a bad thing, that we haven't gone further than we have over the past 60 years.
And there's so much more that we need to improve on. That's why I think it's important that we study his word and that we study his philosophy. When I was in high school, I participated every year in the Martin Luther King Jr. Oratorical Contest. And what they did was they had a different theme every year, and we had to write our own 10-minute speech and memorize it based on Dr. King's philosophy. And it was during that time when I learned about who influenced him, or I learned about how he was really out in the community. We learned about I Have a Dream, but there's so much more to this man, and there's so much that we can apply in our everyday lives. So I hope that just beyond today, we as a people can continue to practice what it is that he wanted for our country.
10-minute speech. That's
10-minute
a lot
speech,
of memorization. It's a long time. That's something else. All right, so there are many more events today to honor Dr. King and the National Day of Service. We've got all this information for you on WFMYnews2.com.
In case you missed it, look at this woman make history in the Greensboro Fire Department. Tamika Brown is now the first black woman to become a fire captain in the department's history. GFD shared the news yesterday. It says Brown also recently became a mother. Congratulations. We'll be right back.
Congratulations to the new Miss Universe. For the first time in 10 years, Miss USA won the contest. Rabani Gabriel was named the winner of the pageant over the weekend in New Orleans. This is interesting since Miss USA won. Miss USA first runner-up will become the new Miss USA, and she is from our state. Morgan Romano was the runner-up, and now she will be crowned Miss USA coming up here in a few weeks. There was an emotional moment at the ceremony, too, a tribute to the 2019 Miss USA, Chesley Christ. Her mom spoke as a tribute to her daughter and what she did for the Miss Universe world. Christ died by suicide about a year ago. Her family says she had high-functioning depression. She was a Wake Forest alum and a North Carolina native who went on to compete at Miss Universe. Wild to think it's been almost a year. I looked it up because I couldn't remember the exact date, but it was January 30th. What a terrible...
It was a shock.
Terrible, sad time. I know I've met her once before in an event, and she just had this joyful spirit. Just so well-spoken, just so outgoing, and it just was a reminder of you never really know what people are going through. And I feel like mental health, we're talking about it more and more these days, but it's still a taboo subject. And when you see people like this, as sad as it is, it does start to have people have that conversation and look more into it.
If we go back to talk about the Miss Universe pageant, so my wife took me on a surprise, you guys know this, but she took me on a surprise birthday trip over the weekend, and we went to New Orleans, and all those contestants were staying at our hotel. And when I see her, the winner, I could have sworn I saw her that day when we were all, and people were getting their picture taken with her, so I didn't know why one Miss Universe contestant would have more people asking for pictures because it was Miss USA. But so I saw her in the lobby. Isn't that crazy?
That's so
crazy.
Cool.
It's also so, I guess I just didn't, I never realized that if you are, Miss USA and then you win Miss Universe, that somebody else has to take your place as
I never
Miss
thought
USA.
of that either until you were reading the story. So I'm like, it's a win-win situation for everyone. I guess because you do have duties as Miss Universe, and it would be hard to also do Miss USA as well.
It's like when you run for office, you have to give up your old seat before you can take a new seat. But congratulations to Miss North Carolina.
It looks so beautiful.
Very nice. All right, we'll take a break. We'll see you in a couple minutes. You know, there are some things in this world that we're all familiar with, but do you really know the official names of them? Yeah, well, that's where we come in with more useless knowledge today. I recently found an English professor's Twitter account where he listed everyday things and their official names, and some of them were surprising. See how many of these you knew. Take a look. All right, let's get to it. A question mark and an exclamation mark. Sometimes you can put those together at the end of a sentence. Did you know it has a name? It's called an interrobang or interrobang. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I suffered from this as a kid. My teachers said they couldn't read my writing. Illegible handwriting is actually called griffonage. Boy, who doesn't suffer from at least a little bit of this? Difficulty getting out of bed in the morning is actually called dysania. So if you go to the shoe store, there's always that metal device you put your foot in, right, and they measure what your shoe size is, right? It actually has a name. It's called a bannock device, B-A-N-N-O-C-K, bannock device. All right, we all have eyebrows. That little space right in the middle has a name. It's called a glabella. So if you have a unibrow, you have no glabella. All right, you're tying your shoe, and at the end of your shoestring, there's that little plastic or metal thing, right? That's called an aglet. A-G-L-E-T, aglet. You know, when you're really hungry, sometimes your stomach does what? Yeah, yes, exactly. Thank you very much. We say a rumble in your stomach. There's actually a name for it. A womble, or maybe it's wamble, but it's W-A-M-B-L-E. Now you know. Stop. Now you know, although if you use those words, most people won't know what you're talking about, but we're smarter.
We need to get you a sandwich, my friend.
Telling you. Funny story, when we were videoing that Manning, our photographer goes, I said, let me do a noise for it. He said, okay, so I went like that. And then he goes, because I did it while we were recording. I said, well, if your stomach does this, and I made the noise. He goes, no, let me use that noise and we'll edit it in. So that was me.
It sounded real.
So some of that stuff, the only one I knew was aglet. The rest of it was all new to me.
I didn't know any of them, and I just knew I was going to know some of them when you started talking about the English terms. I was like, I don't know these. But I think you've diagnosed me with something. Dysania.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my wife. I swear she would stay in bed till 11 every day if she could. She loves to just lounge and watch TV before she gets up and do anything but get out of that bed.
I love how you didn't even know how to pronounce some of those words.
No, I didn't.
I wouldn't have either.
But I had to be transparent. We went online and looked and tried to, some of them we couldn't find a pronunciation for.
Oh, no.
Interrobang or whatever that is a question mark. And see, and I didn't know.
Interrobang.
Interrobang. Do you put those together when you're writing something?
I do.
Sometimes.
Like if I'm trying to be like, what? Like in a question mark, like he did what?
Yes.
Exclamation point,
and I
question
didn't know
mark.
if that's just us doing that for texting or if that's an actual grammatically correct thing.
Like is it like accepted in the English language, right?
If there's a name for it, I guess it is.
Yeah, I suppose so. That's funny.
Now we know. All right, let's do a forecast here. We've got some rain on the way. We'll have to keep an umbrella handy for tomorrow. Not so much tonight, although we'll see the clouds start to build tonight. That's for sure, but the rain does come in tomorrow in the morning hours, so be prepared for that. You'll need the umbrella for the drive to work if you work a normal day shift there. So 54 in Winston-Salem. Walnut Cove has 53, Mount Airy at 52. These are still above normal. Remember, our normal's around 49, 48 degrees, thereabouts. 54 in Burlington, 55 Asheboro and Troy. If you head south, it gets a little warmer. Pinehurst at 56, so pretty down there. 42 degrees the low tonight, mostly cloudy. We'll see that rain develop by tomorrow morning. We're hoping it'll be out of here by tomorrow, at least by late afternoon. And then we'll see some clearing, and we got a stretch of decent days. Really warm, by the way. After tomorrow, 2 of the days, as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, we could see 15 to 18 degree above normal temperatures. How about that for a big change coming up? Cloud cover across the area. It's already building in right now ahead of this front. Here's the front. Obviously the rain with that moving in. Some of that rain develops out ahead of the front, so don't be surprised if you see a shower. Even in the overnight hours, it'll just be very, very light if you were to see it then. The best chance of this, again, mid-morning, possibly tomorrow until it finally moves by. You can see timestamp up here on the top right corner of your screen. By 5:30 p.m., most of that's already at the coastal plain, and we're left in with clearing conditions after that system moves by. So recapping here, we've got that 42 degree overnight low, which means that will be your temperature when you make your way out tomorrow. That rain moving in by tomorrow morning, staying with us for at least the first half of the day. Late day clearing with 53 the high. Here's the big change. 7-day outlook showing mid-60s, scattered clouds on Wednesday. That's a 64 degree high. Remember the normal high is 49. 66 on Thursday. There is another system that'll move through probably Thursday in the evening hours, but that's a 40% chance of rain. Behind that front, cooler air that gets us at least closer to where we should be, not even where we should be, but closer. 55, partly cloudy on Friday. That's not a bad day. 52 on Saturday, 50 Sunday. Gets a little chilly. It's kind of a cool rain on Sunday with that high temperature of 50 degrees. And by Monday of next week, we're dry and up to about 53 for a high temperature with partly cloudy skies.
Check this out. The Kansas City Zoo revealed the gender of its newest baby rhino on Sunday morning. The father, Ruka, helped knock open a gender reveal ball that unfurled some pink confetti. In a Facebook post, the zoo said the calf was born on December 31st. The eastern black rhinoceros is a critically endangered species, making the birth of the new calf all the more important. The zoo said only about 740 of these rhinoceroses are living in the wild.
Oh, love that. And how did the rhino know to poke a hole in that?
I don't know. They must have had a treat or something behind the little ball. I think this is so cute because we've seen these gender reveals get more and more popular within the last few years. But that is the first time I've seen an animal do one. Have you all ever seen some pretty wild gender reveals? Especially out on the social media streets?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what's the strangest one I've ever seen. I did see someone, I don't even know how they did this. They shot a shotgun in the air and it came out of the, I don't know how you do that.
Maybe the bullet had some type of color in it.
Yeah, I don't know how they did that.
I saw a pretty wild one a few years ago. I think this was back in 2018. It was an alligator. The family brought an alligator into the backyard and they fed it a watermelon, and when it chomped it, blue coloring came out.
Wow.
And I remember thinking this is kind of cool but scary at the same time. Like, what made you all think of using an alligator?
Was it a Florida wedding? That's what I'm thinking.
It might have been, because you know some weird things happen down in Florida a lot, but that was probably the most bizarre one that I've seen.
I went to a cringe-worthy gender reveal where they cut open a cake and, you know, the inside, the icing was the color of, you know, the gender, and the mom-to-be was openly weeping because she was so sad that she was going to have a boy.
Oh no! I've seen that happen on social media, and it's like you should be happy that
absolutely.
I hope it's just a healthy baby.
Cringeworthy.
Yeah.
We're all like,
that's awkward.
It's so
I know.
Well, how is she doing now these days?
She loves her son.
Okay, good,
Of course she
good.
does.
Spoil that baby.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check, mic check, mic check.
All right, I'm talking about these NFL playoff and fans, how to deal with all that allegiance.
The rest of the 4 to 5 awaits you, my friends. Right now, Chad, Eric, Lauren, and Amanda Ferguson's right over there.
Would you say that the first half is the better half or the second half?
It depends on the day.
You got to stick around because sometimes we're having more of the fun on the first half,
right.
and sometimes it's just a wild blowout, a huge party on the second half.
Lots of dancing.
Speaking of parties, this half hour we're talking about the best surprise that you have ever received, and this is tied into Eric Chilton.
Yeah, because I got one of the best surprises I've ever had in my life last week. My birthday is this Wednesday, but my wife did something, so we'll talk about that. It was so cool.
It's a great story. Do not miss it. All right, but first, let's get to your afternoon headlines. First up today, there was a parade in Greensboro to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The parade featured local bands, dance teams, sports groups, and civic groups. The annual tradition started more than 20 years ago. Soccer star Brianna Scurry will speak at Wake Forest University today in honor of MLK Day. Scurry was the first black openly gay starting goalkeeper on the U.S. women's national team. The team went on to win the 1999 Women's World Cup. She will speak on her experience during her trailblazing career and her advocacy for women's equality in sports. The Volunteer Center of the Triad started its week of service at Barber Park in Greensboro yesterday. The group said it picked service projects based on nonprofit needs. A spokesperson told us it's important for them to make an impact in their neighborhood.
The college football season over, the NFL season wrapping up. The NFL draft is just a few months away. Deadly alum Hendon Hooker will be waiting to hear his name called. The Tennessee quarterback had an incredible year, leading the Vols back to one of the top programs in college football. Hooker threw 27 touchdowns for over 3,100 yards and only threw 2 interceptions. However, his season ended at South Carolina when he tore his ACL late in the game. Really unfortunate situation, and we caught up with him over the weekend. He tells us what he's been doing to get healthy.
A lot of board work, anything that I can do to strengthen my mental, continuing to lift in the weight room every day, try to get in there 6 times a week, continuing to work my other leg as well, even though that's healthy, but I still need to work it so it can continue to be strong and, just regular rehab. Anything that they ask me to do, I'm going to do it happily.
Hendon is out in California right now preparing for the NFL draft and rehabbing. That NFL draft begins April 27th.
I mean, what a talented young man. I just really hope that ACL injury won't spoil his draft.
I know, but that's
prospects.
What they say, that it's going to go drop his NFL stock. But he's such a good player and he seems great, so I really hope the best for him.
And I think, with ACL injuries, they can be career-ending or they can be something that you can overcome. We probably would have already heard if it was going to be something that major. So there's obviously hope that he'll come back in. And even if he goes later, that's a steal if you get him in a lower draft situation. And wouldn't mind the Panthers maybe having somebody like that.
He has such a good attitude too about it. I mean, I feel like if I were in that situation, I would just be so upset and heartbroken, and he's just like, whatever is meant to be will be, and he just has a really great attitude about it.
Well, and you always hear about, obviously the success stories when people are drafted in the first round, but look at all of the stories over the years of people who have been drafted in very late rounds, just really doing well. So
I mean, even Brett Favre, nobody even heard of him. Right. When he was Randy Moss, there's a million of those.
I hate that this impacts his draft.
Yeah. We'll see how badly, though.
Yeah.
Because I think even if he goes late, I think by the time he's in full strength, he'll be incredible.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, we will. Yep. Amanda, thanks.
With the NFL playoffs, fans will be supporting their favorite teams. Tensions will be high leading up to game day. Competition is just as strong off the field as it is on, and smack talking can lead to some heated exchanges. This is what Blanca Cobb, who has a master's in psychology, and I are talking about today. So Blanca, let's get right to it. Why do fans feel such a strong allegiance to their teams?
This strong allegiance is about identity, a unity, belonging to a group that is like bigger than yourself, something that you believe in. It's almost like your family. So, I mean, that allegiance is super, super strong for a lot of fans when it comes to their sports teams.
So, people have their favorite sports teams, they're rooting for them, but why do fans get angry with fans of other teams?
What happens a lot of times is they disagree with a play or a ref's call, and then that's when the smack talk starts. Because then it's about the opposing player's ability, not luck, but ability. Oh, the ref made a bad call. That's why your player did X, Y, or Z. And so then those types of statements get interpreted as jabs or insults. And so what happens when you feel strongly about your family or your team, what happens? You get defensive. And so that's what typically happens.
So say somebody is getting defensive with you. How do you handle those rowdy fans?
Well, before you even see a game with anybody who roots for another team, whether you like it or not, you have to understand that rowdiness is part of the game environment. So rooting for your team and some smack talking, that is part of it. Now, the thing is, when it crosses that line to where it's disrespectful, that's the issue. So you just have to come in with a lot of patience, a lot of ignoring. And look, no one says you have to continue to watch the game with the person. You can pick up and walk somewhere else or get up and stand up, take a break, and then come back, right? And then when you're going to talk about plays, make sure you talk about plays and something that is objective. When you start talking about subjectivity, about your opinion or about your perception, there's a lot of wiggle room there, and that is where it tends to lead into arguments, and you definitely want to keep emotion out of it.
All right, thank you so much, Blanca. Hopefully folks can keep it playful and friendly and not get too intense. You can continue the conversation with Blanca Cobb on her Facebook page, Blanca Cobb, Body Language Expert.
Some good advice there, but when you're in the heat of the moment, it's hard to remember that kind of stuff, right?
It just kind of blows my mind how intense people get into it. I've seen fights almost break out
I have too.
with people really rioting for their teams. I understand having pride, but you would have thought they were on the teams themselves, as passionate as people can be.
There's one of my friends who is a friend of mine, but he's yeah.
Let's start with that.
You've had to hold him back at a couple parties,
Let
it
me
sounds
start
like.
that he is still a friend, but I quit. I had to unfollow him on Facebook because he would jump in on my post. He's a Duke guy and I'm a Carolina guy. You knew that's where I was going with that. And he would jump in on my post. If anybody said anything positive, he would just slam them, and then he'd get in arguments with my friends that he didn't even know. So I finally just said, let's just stay in person friends.
Right.
Oh goodness!
Not
Did he go to
social media.
Duke? Is my question.
No.
See, I always wonder where that.
I always
comes
joke with
from.
my friends the Duke Carolina thing because I'm like, you didn't go there, and if you did, I respect you. And so we go back and forth all the time. That's the only one that I get stupid about. The rest of them, Panthers, and I actually like the Hurricanes. I can handle that. This is the Carolina stuff that gets me.
You lose your mind over any of them?
I don't lose my mind, but I definitely have allegiances towards my team, but I've never been in fights over it or even close.
Well, yeah, not that.
See, that's the great part about not having a team, because you can just relax, enjoy the party,
It's
eat the
heavy
snacks.
around here. So you know our director Brad is a diehard State
Yes.
fan. He and I had to watch because we were working the same night that Carolina and State played in football.
I remember that.
And our desks are right beside each other, and I have to say, he was not. We were good to each other that night. I'm sure when we left, we
absolutely.
did our thing.
I was impressed with your maturity.
Oh, you were there. That's right.
I
Yes,
remember
you were
that.
there. Because I thought we might, tackle each other.
And I had my camera ready to go.
It's a game, guys. It's all in
Somebody did
fun.
video us. I can't remember. Anyway, all right, let's get to the forecast. I digress. Well, I tell you, ACC basketball, though, that runs deep in people around here. It's a thing, as you well know. And if you're new to the area, get ready. It's coming. It's coming your way. You got to pick 2 shades of blue or a red or a gold. You got to figure it out. 53 in the Triad, 52 in Asheville, 61 in Columbia. These temperatures are above normal for us for this time of the year. If you look at hour by hour into the night, it's kind of funny. By 6 p.m., that's our normal high temperature at 49. We'll go down to 44. Notice these temperatures aren't changing very much. We talk about this a lot, but that blanket of cloud cover over the area, whenever you have that, it stops the temperature from dropping dramatically. Usually we'll see 20-degree difference between a high and a low, but we are not anywhere close to that. It would probably be 10 degrees or so between where we top out today and where we'll bottom out by tomorrow morning. Cloud cover moving in, rain associated with that. This is the front. That'll be getting closer. There's some rain ahead of that front, so could get this some overnight in the mountain areas, but I think definitely here by tomorrow morning. So you want to keep an umbrella in the car for sure as you head out to work. And it looks like we're hoping this will be out of here by late afternoon or so, maybe even a little bit earlier. I want you to see the high resolution futurecast. I stopped this at 8 o'clock in the morning, so the rain is just now starting to overspread the Triad, heavier in the mountain communities. Then you see it start to pass us and move more toward Raleigh. This is at 2 p.m. So let's say by 2 to 4, I think most of this will be out of here. And this is by 7:15 p.m. tomorrow night. We are clearing out. So tomorrow's high, low 50s there with that 60% chance of rain. Really warm Wednesday, Thursday, mid 60s. Partly cloudy Wednesday, a little rain Thursday, and the weekend's cooler with highs in the lower 50s.
At least 9 people have died in a series of tornadoes in Alabama. Homes turned to rubble and winds kicked up debris all over the place. One woman waited out the storm with her daughter. She says her daughter was in a room that ended up in a ditch covered by trees, and she had switched rooms before it got too dangerous.
I lost a lot of things materialistic. I don't have insurance, but I don't even care because my child's all right. That's really all that matters to me. But all this stuff is materialistic and can be replaced, but if I'd have lost her, I don't think I could have lived through that.
The damage is overwhelming. Samaritan's Purse, based out of Boone here, has a team there to help clean up and heal.
The most important thing you're doing is getting out there and giving these people some hope, coming alongside of them, letting them know that they've not been forgotten, that we care, and most importantly, we hope through that they'll see that God cares and the love that they see in our volunteers.
Samaritan's Purse plans to send 50 to 60 volunteers to the area. They'll be there for at least 3 weeks. They do some incredible work. They're airplanes leave out of PTI Airport in Greensboro, and they're constantly sending supplies to disaster areas across the country and across the globe. Just can't imagine dealing with something like that.
Absolutely. When you go through a natural disaster, a lot of times you lose everything, and it's things that we don't even think of, certain materials we might need, medical supplies, food, lodging. So it's great that we have people in our area stepping up that go out and help, because I'm sure if we were in the same situation, we'd have others coming to us. So I just love seeing that unity and people coming together.
And you can go to our website and just search Samaritan's Purse. Last year, if you remember, I did a story on just how huge their effort is in Ukraine right now, as well as some places around the country. And I mean, they have a huge warehouse in North Wilkesboro that's like multiple football fields big, and they can deploy to one of these places on a moment's notice. It's just, the work is incredible.
Is there more information on how folks at home might be able to get involved or donate to help out?
Absolutely. Just search Samaritan's Purse on our website. They're always taking monetary donations or different ways to help. You can even work to become a volunteer with them. So check that out.
We'll be right back. January is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. It's a disease that's treatable if picked up early with screening and preventable with the HPV vaccine. Michael George spoke with this cancer survivor about her advice for women.
When Nora Lindo Salmon started feeling intense abdomen pain last year, she went to the doctor. The mother and grandmother learned she had advanced cervical cancer.
They said, I have cancer. And I said, I don't believe it's still cancer.
The Jamaica native had not been getting regular gynecological exams.
Unfortunately, though, many women, especially underserved women, have not seen physicians and they don't get regular screening.
Dr. Stella Limberis is a radiation oncologist at NYU Langone Perlmutter Cancer Center. She says cervical cancer is treatable if detected early. In Nora's case, she had 5 weeks of chemotherapy and internal radiation treatment called brachytherapy.
It's the safest way to deliver radiation so that we can reduce side effects.
A new American Cancer Society report estimates about 14,000 cases of invasive cervical cancer will be diagnosed this year, and more than 4,000 women will die from the disease. Death rates have dropped significantly with increased use of the Pap test, and the report shows a 65% reduction in cervical cancer rates in women in their early 20s. That's after the introduction of the HPV vaccine, which protects against the human papillomavirus, which causes cervical cancer.
Today, I am wonderful. I'm feeling wonderful.
Nora finished her treatment in June and is currently disease-free. She's now encouraging women to get their annual exams and screening.
I would tell them not to be afraid. Not to be afraid. Be strong. Make the first step.
A step that could be life-saving. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The American Cancer Society says HPV vaccination rates have the potential to virtually eliminate cervical cancer. I think one of the big things when it comes to stories like this is access to care, making sure that people have access to care, that they have the resources, because a lot of people don't know that these screenings are available to them, or maybe they can't even afford them. So if we can break down those barriers, get into those communities, I think that this will help to improve those numbers.
Also, to think, this is what bothers me, is that if it can virtually eliminate it, you have no reason not to do this. So you know how a lot of people will say, well, I'm okay, you know, I'm not going to do that. You have to stay on top of things like this. You know, the medical technology is there for a reason.
And with those HPV vaccines, you can start getting them at a younger age, like a teenager. You see those commercials, I want to be one less, one less. And we had a family friend of ours who didn't want her daughter to get this vaccine. So, you know, there's some people who don't necessarily want their children to get it, or they don't want to get it, so.
I know that's a choice, right? Anybody can make that choice if you want to, but every time I go to my pediatrician's office with one of my kids, they have these testimonies on the wall, and some of them are parents who have lost children because they didn't, and they're telling their stories.
Yeah.
It always hits me, you know?
Something easy that could have been prevented.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back. So this past weekend, my wife took me on a surprise birthday weekend. I had no idea where we were going, didn't know if we were driving or flying till we got to the airport. I'll tell you more about that on My 2 Cents tomorrow. But so I asked people, what were some of the best surprises you've ever had on your birthday? Here's what you had to say. Duncan and Terry said, my son gave me tickets to hear Pat Conroy speak, and he accompanied me because he loves Pat Conroy books as well. Dwayne Young said a surprise trip to Primland. That's really nice. And of course, the 50th birthday visit to WFMY. Christy said a Duke basketball closed court practice session watching the men's team. Goodness, who do you know? After a dinner and Q&A with Coach K. That is huge.
Wow. I bet you'd even do that.
Yeah.
That is special.
Janet says, surprised me with a weekend trip to Lazy Bear Lodge, not far from the Mass General Store in Valley Cruces. Okay, beautiful B&B, food was amazing, she says. Margaret says, my son was born on my birthday. That was the greatest. I know,
Birthday
so cool.
twins.
So I will talk more about this tomorrow on My 2 Cents, but my wife did surprise me. One of my bucket list places that she goes all the time for business is New Orleans. That's where we were going. She didn't tell me. So we're pulling into the airport, and I was like, Leslie, where are we going? Because I was like, you got to tell me. And then we get up to the gate, and there's another couple that are friends of ours, and all four of us are going to New Orleans for the weekend. It was awesome.
That is so great. I can't wait to see that 2 cents.
We're going to show the pictures tomorrow on My 2 Cents. It's just that Lauren knows, she's been many times too. The food is insane.
The food is great. It's almost like going to a different country in the United States because the dialect is different, the food is different, the architecture is different. New Orleans is beautiful.
And I had never been in New Orleans, but I knew how much Eric liked it because when I walked up to his desk today to ask him how it went, he was already looking at flights to go back to New Orleans.
I did. Don't tell my wife. I'm already looking. Well, she goes for business all the time, and I want to go with her.
She's going to start bringing you with her.
She goes, well, we won't be able to do anything. Yeah, I said, I'm going and wandering around. Love that place. All right, let's get to our forecast again. We've got some changes coming up when it comes to rain on the way for us. Temperatures for the most part, though, they're pretty comfortable. I mean, we'll see these overnight lows. They'll be fairly mild. Keep in mind our normal highs around 49, so our low tonight's 42. That's not bad. Mostly cloudy. We'll see the rain start to move in by tomorrow morning. The big question with this is how long does it last? And we think half the day. I honestly think by 2 to 3 o'clock, most of the rain will end, and then we'll see clearing by the time we get into the evening newscast, probably 5 or 6 p.m. tomorrow night, or at least gradual clearing, we could say. 53 degrees for the morning showers tomorrow. So the big story as we take a look at our long-range forecast is, I mean, look at these temperatures for Wednesday and Thursday. We're going from 53 tomorrow up to 64 and 66 for those 2 days. The difference is Wednesday's partly cloudy, Thursday we have a 40% chance of rain, but that 66 there is about 17 degrees above normal. Really warm. Dropping back down on the backside of the front that brings the rain on Thursday, we go to the mid-50s and some clearing then. Partly cloudy Saturday and cooler at 52. 50, kind of a cool rain on Sunday with 50% chance of rain, and then partly cloudy by next Monday and a high of 53.
2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 to the 4, to the 5, to the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 5, 6, 7.
Hi there, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas.
Right here. Hey, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. This is one of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s most famous quotes. There is so much we can learn from Dr. King and his philosophy. He was a man of nonviolence and believed in the power of love. Can you think of a time when you responded negatively to someone who you felt did you wrong? Maybe you responded with hurtful words. Maybe you did something that would cause them to feel your pain. I can assume that in the end there was no resolution and both you and the other person were still at odds. Even this simple example shows that in times of division, you can't win by fighting fire with fire. We must find a way to understand the viewpoints of other people and express our beliefs using positive language. One of Dr. King's greatest leadership qualities was diplomacy. He knew how to bring people together and align groups from different backgrounds for a common cause. He did this with his words and through love. Dr. King teaches us the importance of forgiveness, that hate only causes us to endure more pain. The best way we can continue to honor Dr. King and his philosophy is to pursue unity and peace, especially in the darkest of times. That's my 2 cents. That's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts now.
We fought tougher times than this and rougher foes than this. Dr. King taught us that.